Okay, so welcome to our final lesson on architectures of AI. This is a kind of the supplementary presentation. It's not too technical, but I find it that important that I decided to add this to our courseware. This is a question about the sourcing strategy. Okay, this is a question on, for example, whether to use a custom or out-of-the-box solution for our project. Whether should we use an open or commercial solution for that? That's a bit different from the first question. And whether to host something on-premise or hosted. So the goal of this lesson is just to provide you a business perspective and business considerations concerning those three questions, which are extremely important, specifically if you think about your own startup. So you probably have to answer those questions. So since this is a very important part of the skill set of the modern entrepreneur, especially in the context of AI, machine learning, and generative tech nowadays, I decided to add this short presentation to you to summarize my tips and tricks and best practices, global best practices in that area. So let's start with the first question, whether we should use a custom solution or out of the box solution, whether we should do something from scratch or choose something which is already prepared and being sold on the market. And for that approach, I follow a very, very, very old strategy from the times of the first enterprise resource planning systems, where in my personal good practice is displayed here. So firstly, if there is something on the market out of the box, prepared, just go for it, okay? Do not try to do it by yourself. Choose out of the box solution. But sometimes there is no such out of the box solution. So in such a case, find something which you may adopt, something which is already running, yes, has some knobs you can control to adopt it to your needs. So then adopt. And then if there is nothing like that on the market, do it by yourself from scratch. I know that for young programmers that may be not that passionate approach, but still it's very conservative, but guarantees a quite fast success in, maybe not guarantees, but decreases the risk of the failure of IT project. So when to buy out of the box? Buy out of the box solution in case the total purchase cost is much lower. So sometimes to develop something takes a lot of time, and time is money because you need to pay for experts, programmers, etc. Next, it will take too long to build. You need to be fast on the market. Doing something by yourself from scratch will take a year or so, and on the other hand, you might get out of the box solution and be on the market in a month, yes, or a week. By out of the box solution case for fairly universal business processes, for example, human resources management. So there are many different areas where you are not unique. People have also the same problems as you, so they solve that using IT systems. So for that, you can use out of the box solutions. Next, use that if your business problem has already been solved by someone else and there are already leaders in the market for such solution. In generally, buying an off-the-shelf solution accelerates both market entry and future scaling. There are a lot of plenty of different benefits of choosing something out of the box. By the way, it does not have to be a commercial solution. So libraries, open source libraries are examples of, in some sense, out of the box solutions. Yes. So do it yourself in case the business area is a key competitive advantage. So it's specific for a business or because of the security. Yeah, that's the reason just to build something from scratch. Another aspect is costs of adaptation of the shelf product are very high, the total cost of production is much lower, but you need to take into account programming, testing, configuration, scaling, people, specialists, infrastructure, and all that stuff. In some cases, it's cheaper to do something from scratch by yourself compared to off-the-shelf product. Next, do it yourself in case development requires deep understanding of your business. So your potential providers do not understand deeply your business, like it happens sometimes in the very sophisticated areas of internet marketing. So sometimes the knowledge is on your side and it's much faster for you to build it compared to purchasing something from scratch or hiring some external companies. And finally, time constraints are important and suppliers can't guarantee delivery of the necessary scope in time. So these are the cases you should consider doing it by yourself. So next question, open or commercial? Shall we take something free of charge or purchase? By the way, that may be very similar to the first question for you, but remember, we may purchase commercial solution made out of open source solutions. Yes, so this is a bit mixed. So choose open source when someone has already created what you need. It may happen. The code is well supported by a large and active community. For example, you have lots of contributors and commits on GitHub. This is the way I usually work. So, for example, when I consider some open source library, I do really look at the community and how many stars you have at GitHub, when the last commit was. So just to check whether the community is lively. For me personally, also a good prompt for using open source, given an open source library, is that it's supported by some large player, like for example MLflow is supported by Databricks, so that is very important to me. Next, choose open source when the total cost of ownership of such a solution is low. Remember, total cost of ownership means all the potential cost now and in the future, including maintenance. It corresponds to your brand image. Sometimes there are some brands which are really open source friendly, so then you can use it. Or you need not only the app but also the source code. So this is typical for startups when you take into account that somewhere in the future you will sell yourself or a part of your company, so you need to prove that the code are yours. But remember, it's sometimes very sophisticated from the legal point of view, because there is a question what about the legal rights to the open source libraries. Yeah, so those questions should be solved in such a situation. Choose commercial solution when it's easier to customize and implement, or it is the industry standard, like for example for spreadsheets. Yes, the spreadsheets are industry standards, general standards, or within your industry, because it also it's industry dependent. You need some reliable support. Yeah, so this is another reason to use a commercial solution. Okay, reliable means that in the near future, next few years, they won't disappear. Okay, which may be the case for your programmers you hire to develop something by yourself. Next, the total cost of ownership of open source is high. This is very important, because sometimes when you think, okay, I will use open source because it's free. Nope, it's not free. You need to pay for developers. Developer costs a lot of money nowadays, and it may happen that the free is more expensive than commercial. Look at the total cost of ownership. Next, choose a commercial solution when you need to ensure that you are not infringing someone's copyright. Or security is important, but not always, because the question of the security is not always. Commercial solutions are not safe all the time. Sometimes it's easier to take care about the security in open solutions, but it depends on the case. And the final question, very important nowadays, specifically in context of generative technologies, whether should we keep it on-prem on our servers or in the cloud? So maintain your own servers when you want a full control over your infrastructure and data. So for example, for large language models, generative tech, you do not want your documents, even in the form of embeddings, leak to external providers. Yes, or for example, GDPR is important. Yes, or you work with sensitive data like in the healthcare. Next, your total cost of ownership will be lower than in the cloud, so you need to compare those costs. But remember, total cost of ownership, everything, security, management, scaling, etc., maintenance, scaling, etc. Maintain on your servers when you need to frequently transfer large amounts of data from your own solution to the cloud, which is called ingress, and back. Ingress, remember that for cloud hosted solutions you pay not only for computing power, not only for storage, but also for data transfer. Egress and ingress. Okay, so also maintain on your servers on premise when a cloud solution can generate unacceptable latency, server response speed problems, like for example in manufacturing, if you work for Internet of Things or Industry 4.0 company in manufacturing, on your manufacturing plant, sometimes companies install their own private 5G networks just to decrease the latency. So in such situations, it's much better to have your data on your servers locally. And finally, the next reason for maintaining on-prem is the situation where the stability of operation is critical and cannot be ensured by the provider. So these are the pros for maintaining your data, your apps on your servers. And finally, choose the cloud when you want to focus on your business. Okay, so you're not IT company, you work on e-commerce, you work on manufacturing, IT is not your core business, and it will definitely free your attention from the need to monitor and develop IT. It's a really huge benefit. Next, you want to reduce the cost of ownership and maintenance of IT infrastructure. That may be the overkill. This is extremely important. You do not need to care about that. And wow, it's one of the reasons why I always start with this option with my customers. Next, choose cloud when you want flexibility in scaling the solution, like seasonality, growth, specifically nowadays when you have very major technologies of so-called serverless computing, where you do not need to run a dedicated server to host your apps. You can use, for example, in Google, you have GCP run, so you can run serverlessly your apps, whether it's on the endpoint, web service, whatever, or you have on Amazon, you have the Lambda, so these are very interesting. Also from the pricing perspective, solutions which scale automatically and you pay per reuse, so this is very interesting. Next, choose cloud when you need continuous, reliable support. And finally, when compliance and security rules allow such a solution. Okay, next, it depends on your IT security, but also data safety. So legal department should be your partner in this decision. So that's all for this short lecture and all for these lectures on architecture design. As you saw, it's really mixed with generally IT design, business users' needs, analysis, they business goals, they use cases. On the other hand, we talked about data producers, different types of data, etc., etc., etc. So hopefully it will help you to see this machine learning AI architecture from the higher perspective, not only the local IT perspective, but from the higher one. So I hope it will help you develop really great solutions in the future. Good luck.